Welcome to another Self People Are Typing. It is, Christ, what day? Hold on, what's
It's
the
the
date?
29th.
Thank you. It's the 29th, after Thanksgiving. And I've got Adam and Will here with me, and we're going to talk about a bunch of gaming and politics and stuff. So let's get off to the first topic, which is the PS5. I spent the last few days trying to buy one of these, which was absolutely laughable. I'm on many tracker sites and things, and I guess the first topic is it's clear that people are competing against bots, maybe in a way that we haven't seen before, or maybe it's a limited supply that's really exposing it. I can't really tell, but it's very clear that when things hit even online sales at Walmart or Best Buy or GameStop, they're gone within a minute, with most people not even able to load the site before they're gone. And it looks to be like it's bot activity, which I guess is then funneling through eBay or something. So is this a new thing? Is this something that we think has always been there and just Sony's supply is just incredibly low? And if it is a new thing, do you think there's anything that can prevent it from happening, going forward? I'll start with Adam.
I mean, uh, consoles are generally tougher to get right around release. I mean, to varying degrees, certainly, but I mean, there's a little bit of hype, maybe a little bit of artificial scarcity, but I think the real thing that's messing with everything right now is just that you can't buy them in stores, and everyone's being funneled through these online systems that are I think not really designed to weed out bots. And quite frankly, I don't know what the incentive is for these stores to, and unless these people don't get to sell, flip these consoles at a higher price, and they are able to return them because all the return windows are long right now. Maybe the stores at that point will care, but I doubt it. I don't know. That's my 2 cents. I mean, I've spent plenty of night in the past waiting out in lines for consoles, like them counting out like the first 13 people in line and everyone else not getting one. I mean, this stuff happens, but it's because it's all online. It's a little bit different, modality. It's made it interesting.
Right. It's not a bunch of people waiting outside for 13 hours, and then right when they open the door, you know, 500 unknown things rush in and buy everything and then rush out, and you're like, what the hell was that? Sorry, Will, you're gonna say something?
Yeah, I mean, I mostly agree with Adam. I think that I disagree that it doesn't have a downside to the stores, right? Like, even if they can return them and like, so I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think your point was like the store's making money anyway, right? So, like, they're
Yeah.
selling out and but I think that they're paying the cost in PR, right? So, not necessarily, I don't know the specifics around PS5 launch as much as um, like the RTX 3000 series, and the AMD 6000 series, where those brands suffered a pretty large hit, PR wise, because of the bot activity. So yeah, I mean, the stores might be making their, whatever margin, $100 margin on every console, and they would regardless of whether or not it's bots or real people. But the PR hit from not having a site that is dependable, and feeling the frustration that people are getting when they go to Walmart and they can't even load their cart, I think you know has a marketing cost.
That's valid.
I mean, I would agree, but what's the alternative? Because every one of these stores is getting hammered. Like even if it sours you on the experience, like it's universal at this point. I don't know of a single retailer that I think did it particularly well.
Oh yeah, but I guess my point is that they should have some incentive to try and limit bot activity.
Yeah.
Um,
First
from
person that
from
does, I guess, right?
Yeah, just from a purely marketing standpoint.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, amusingly, all of these bots are coming from like sneaker purchases. So people who are really into like sneakerheads developed bots to get limited release sneakers so that they could flip those and sell them on the secondary market. And they just reprogram them for video cards and PS5 and Xbox.
Don't product doesn't equal Jordan's product equals PS5. Like that's basically what you're talking about.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So
this has been a problem for a while, far longer than this is what you're also getting at, right?
Yeah, this is just the first time it's like moved into these markets.
Well, if there isn't a better analogy of the cancer that is high frequency trading, and it could now like expose it more perfectly, I think this is it. I think if you do not like bots coming in and taking your PS5, you should fundamentally be against the idea of high frequency trading in the financial markets because it's the same goddamn thing. And
yeah, I mean,
it'd be sorry.
It's people taking advantage of, you know, some technical prowess that they have to gain advantage.
Yeah.
You know, on like a really, really high level, I don't know that I have a problem with that. However, I want the systems to be able to stop it. Like I want you to be able to try. Like I don't want it to be illegal, but I want like, you know, the stock market to do like what IEX does, right? Which puts in a speed limit.
Or cost per something to create a back pressure.
Yeah, something.
Right. But to your point, until there's incentives, I don't see that happening. And it's not like console launches happen a whole lot. There'll be PS5 in every single one of these stores in, I'm assuming, easily 6 months, but probably sooner. And they'll look like candy like everything else. So I guess it's hard to argue that anything meaningful would change, but it would be very interesting if a store took a PR campaign, to your point, Will, next time or to the next one of these perceived launches where it said, hey, join my, you know, sales club, like a Sam's Club or whatever, and we have like anti-bot protections. So yeah, you might not get one, but you know, people who are actual buyers of the site and legitimate purchasers with like the best intentions you can infer are going to get them.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that would be a good idea. That said, there's no reason to have a PS5 right now.
Except that they're a thing that people want.
That they're coveted, but they're coveted because they're coveted, right? Like they're coveted because they're rare, not because they're actually useful.
So let's get into it. Have you played, either of you played any games, anything that you like, comments on it?
I mean, there really aren't any games. So I have, but like I've played the Miles Morales game. It's pretty, but you know, there's like what, 2 PS5 exclusive titles, if that, right now, like Demon's Souls. But I don't know if
which is actually a remake.
Yeah, exactly, right. So it's like, and everything else is available for PS4. So it'll be a like slightly prettier version of the PS4 games.
Or runs better, which actually has been, I think, a nicer benefit, like the faster loading and.
You mean you can actually play your PS4 games?
Yeah, so
frame rate.
Most of the games that I bought are PS4 games, and I think that the PlayStation realized that they didn't have any fucking games for this thing. And because like with your PS Plus subscription, you're like, hey, for exclusive for PS5 owners, you can play all these PS4 games for free.
Until we actually come out
because we don't have any fucking games for you. You want to play Astro's Playground or whatever what it's called over and over again. No, to the performance point, one of the things that I actually really disliked and left a really bad taste in my mouth was loading Spider-Man. I don't know if you've played it yet, Adam.
No, I haven't. Not the PS5 version.
So it asks you if you want fidelity or performance.
Yes, this is
and it's like,
you have to pick.
Yeah, so like for performance, it will lower the resolution and let you run at 60 frames per second. And for fidelity, it'll up the resolution and like the graphics and ray tracing and all that, and only run at 30 frames per second. And like that is the antithesis of what consoles should be,
Yeah,
right?
that's a computer. That's why you buy
Exactly.
computers, to make these decisions. You don't buy the console.
Except with the console, you only get 2 decisions. There's
I'm
not a
used to
bunch of
having one.
sliders.
I'm used to having it like run at like a really good resolution, and the game was
This
designed
is-
around.
This is something that came up in the half generation stuff right around the PS4 Pro coming out. This became very common. I was actually going to ask you if you played frame rate or resolution when you mentioned Spider-Man before.
Are you a frame rate or resolution guy?
I'm,
Is that
I'm, a,
going to be the
resol-
thing?
I'm a resolution guy.
Yeah. I want that ray tracing. That's what
Yeah.
I think.
But it's, I guess I understand it in the half gen, right? With the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X or whatever it's called. I don't know what it's called.
Just string a bunch together, you'll hit an Xbox.
But yeah, like the increased horsepower, like the 4.5, right? And I kind of get it from that standpoint, right? Where it's like, hey, the technology around graphics is increasing faster than we can launch consoles, or like faster than we would like to launch consoles, and from like an entirely new architecture standpoint. So hey, we're going to release this like increased one, and you can play these your games at higher resolution. Like I kind of get it from that standpoint, but like this console is 3 weeks old. It should play everything at the maximum.
Yeah,
it's 3 weeks
Oh,
old.
so that's what it is. You don't want to. It's not the slider that's the problem. It's that
we've already hit the slider.
4K
Yeah, exactly.
and ray tracing.
Yeah, no, it's exactly what Jim
Well,
said. We've already hit the slider, right?
Right.
Like we've already hit compromise, and like I don't want that. I want like my super nice graphics, and I don't want to feel like I'm missing out on something because I decided that I want to like use the thing that it said it should be able to do.
It's a fair point. I mean, if you'd spent a top of line, gaming computer, you wouldn't expect day one for it to not do that. Granted, it's more expensive, but it can also do other things. It does one thing. That's interesting.
Yeah, you said, Jim, what I was going to say, that it costs a lot more for a computer. I mean, we talked about that to some extent the other day, but I mean, I understand what you're saying, though. Don't get me wrong. I do understand that frustration, but give it another 2 years and no,
and I'll have to buy the PS 5.5 so that I can play 8K games with DLSS.
No, developers will hit their stride with this console. Like the best stuff starts coming out in like a few years.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, like they have to learn how to optimize for the console, right? Like you look at, something like The Last of Us, which I was thinking about the other day. Like that came out on PS3, I think, right?
Yeah,
and that's incredible.
Yeah.
Like that game looks amazing for PS3.
Yeah, that game.
And it came out at the very end of PS3, I guess. But yeah, like they'll learn how to optimize for it. It was just one of those things. Like I did not expect to have to choose a graphics mode from a brand new console. Like I would almost feel better if they just made the game worse and didn't give me that slider.
Just knowing it's there.
Yeah, just knowing
makes you
knowing
angry.
I have to make a compromise like really was annoying.
Yeah, they feel like they're appealing to two different types of people, because there's the frame rate people are real and they are out there, and that's like what they care about over everything. I mean, and that's true, once again on the computer too. People dial down their settings to get buttery smooth frame rate, but some people don't care about that and they want the 4K and ray tracing at $500. So I'm actually very curious to see how the ray tracing is on this, because I haven't really played anything that takes advantage of that yet.
There are like, I would never notice ray tracing, to be honest, until like I see videos of it pointing out. It's like, hey, look at this. This is ray tracing. I'm like, oh yeah, that does look nice. But like in actual gameplay, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like it doesn't. And it's like the reflection texture maps or whatever they do with it. are really good anyway. So it's like it doesn't really add that much, and it uses so much additional horsepower to do it.
It's true. I think it's one of these things though that the opposite of ray tracing is what actually draws your attention, because it's like lights don't work like that. The fact that it makes it basically look the way you'd expect things to look and reflect the way you'd expect things to reflect. You're right. It in some way that undercuts what it's doing, because it just kind of looks the way it should or closer to that.
Yeah, it's I'm glad that like the 3000 series Nvidia cards can like actually do ray tracing now, because I have a 2000 series Nvidia card, and you just don't turn ray tracing on at all, even though it can do it, because it just doesn't have the horsepower. And it was very much a gimmick thing of like, hey, you want to run like Battlefield at 20 FPS, but it'll look really nice. You turn ray tracing on. The technology I'm more interested in is DLSS. And I don't know what AMD's version of that is called, but they have the same thing. So DLSS, if you're not familiar with it, Jim, is deep learning super sampling. And so what they do, I think it's deep learning. What they do is like you can run games with like the 3090 in native 8K, right? But that is like a tremendous amount of horsepower that you need to be able to run a game at that resolution. But what they've implemented is like, hey, we have all these RTX cores, right? We have all these like cores that are optimized for deep learning. So why don't we run the game at 1440 and then let our deep learning algorithms decide what should be filled in for the rest of the 8K or like
it does inference.
Yeah, so it does for the next 6.5K of resolution, and like it is almost indistinguishable from native.
Wow.
But it uses like so much less horsepower. So it's like, hey, you can run this native, this game at native 8K at 30 FPS, or you can run it at 1440 with DLSS on. It'll look exactly the same, and it'll run at like 80 FPS.
What's it called? Upsampling? That's traditionally the term.
DLSS.
Right, but this is like the latest version of that, right?
Yeah.
Right. So like you take a standard def and you go to HD. There's some type of very manual upsampling people used to do to get it to that, but you could tell this is
because you're just using some like, hey, double these pixel counts here, right, or something like that.
Right. You're doing some kind of very basic transformation that gets you to the new resolution, but you can tell it wasn't written there.
You're not making any predictions about what's supposed to be in that spot. You're just taking what is next to it and saying like, just copy that.
Or do a very basic blend or something.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Yeah. So this is doing it in a much smarter way. And that's really interesting. That's a really interesting use of deep learning where you can upsample or whatever and get to like really, really, really close accuracy.
Yeah, it's really amazing. Yeah, there was a really good video of Death Stranding where they ran it at like 280, monkey pixels, right? Like 280 by 160 or whatever, some super low resolution is, and they like upsampled it to like 720p. And like you could tell, like at that low resolution, there's not enough data for it to like actually like figure out everything.
I don't know what you want me to do here. I got like 4 blocks on the screen.
But it still looked pretty good. And then like if they ran it like 720p, like it looked great at like 4K.
Wow.
And like used like almost nothing from a resources perspective on the graphics card. Yeah, so it's I read an interesting article that DLSS and like technologies like that, so whatever the AMD equivalent is the end of resolution, because like it doesn't matter if you can run high resolutions in like natively, because the AI algorithms are just better, or they're good enough, I should say. They're not
right.
better, but
your drop off is an easy trade off.
Yeah, exactly. To make it like affordable. And like now nobody's going to care if you can run 8K or, 5 years from now, 16K, natively. It just doesn't matter anymore.
So we talk about not being able to tell the difference between resolutions for most people, what's the dimensions where anyone can tell between these? Like what has to happen? What has to happen for it to even be noticeable?
Yeah, so I think where that is the source has to be high, like it can't be too low of resolution, right?
No, I'm sorry. Like human, like just forget the deep learning. You see an 8K signal, you
Oh,
see a 4K signal.
I honestly I can't tell the difference between a 4K TV and an 8K TV.
Okay, all right.
Like I have no, and especially not at like normal viewing distances.
What about 1080 and 4K? You can tell that one.
Yeah, you can tell.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then after
But
that,
like
it
a
just
but
goes.
like a really good 1080p TV looks better than a shitty 4K TV. I think.
That's true. That's true. Because it's not just the resolution, but
Yeah.
but just the lines on the page going from 4,000 to 8,000. It unless TVs get dramatically bigger or we're sitting dramatically closer, it just feels like we're not like that there's that drop off that's going to happen that we're probably at.
Yeah, I mean honestly, I think where it'll show up first is in monitors because we're sitting close enough to them. But yeah, like normal viewing distance, I can't tell the difference between, that and like not enough to at least justify the price. And like, I don't think that even at any price, I would be able to tell the difference.
Right. Maybe you can play a series, like a scene and play them next to each other. And you're like, oh, I can see the difference. But then if you just close my eyes and then you replayed that scene on one of the TVs and said, okay, which one is it? I'd be like, I don't know. You got to put them against each other again. I can't tell.
Yeah. I also don't even know that like, if it was like a blind thing where they were both next to each other, and I didn't know which was which, I would be able to tell. I think it would be like the wine studies where like you just tell somebody like, oh, that's the 8K one. You're like, yeah,
Right,
it does look better
or something, and because you're like, I'm stretching. I want to see it, but I can't. And to your point, there's so many other parts that make a TV quality, that bad color, bad contrast. Like there's a lot of other stuff that can kill the quality anyways. To where if the 8K is any way lower quality, you're going to immediately look to the 8K saying that's just a crappier TV. Like it'll drop off, right? So interesting. That is really interesting. So this whole deep learning thing, you just said it's the end of resolution, but I'm also like, but did we even need to go there? So I'm kind of like did we say, oh no, it's a resolution thing? Oh, thank God for this deep learning. But then we'll do,
Yeah, but running games in 4K is still pretty taxing. So if you can run it at a lower resolution,
that's true,
and run it at 4K, right? Like that's still better.
Yeah, at 720, that would be easy.
Yeah, you could take your PS4. I mean, granted, it needs this GPU, I'm sure, which it doesn't have, but the idea that, to your point, this extra processor could leapfrog a lot of stuff forward with very minimal actual direct processing, like CPU processing power or RAM or something like that. That's really interesting.
I wonder if they could just have standalone processing boxes that you feed a signal to, and it spits it out at a certain resolution, since it's a post, resolution thing, since it's inferring.
So it's like it's post process.
Yeah. So, I mean, why can't you just plug a PS4 into a box that has this,
Oh, like it literally is like sits between like the HDMI cable, like HDMI cable box, and then like up. In theory, I don't see any reason why you couldn't do that. Like that just seems that's interesting. I don't see why you couldn't do that.
I'm gonna play my NES in 8K.
I mean, you could probably get it to pretty high. I mean,
I'll link in Slack the video that I'm talking about. It's pretty interesting. Like you can watch it at your leisure.
So Nvidia is kind of going down that path for not gaming reasons, but for deep learning reasons, where part of their purchase of Mellanox, and Adam, I don't know if you know what Mellanox is, but they're like a networking company. They basically own this protocol called InfiniBand. Their Mellanox is a company that basically sits in all of the high speed networking places that power, academia, health and human stuff. Like every HPC shop in the world, basically for the most part, runs on InfiniBand, and only now are people starting to look at to go to Ethernet topologies. But think of like every like CERN and like every scientific, all these things that need these crazy massive parallel networks, they all run on InfiniBand traditionally, at least. NVIDIA bought them, and they're kind of InfiniBand seen as an old technology. Ethernet is like this go forward way of the future. People are like, why are you buying this dinosaur? But NVIDIA had this idea that they have this processor, and the main processor of the Intel CPU or the AMD CPU, whichever one you're using, is just kind of a control plane. Like it's just getting in the way. To your exact point, why can't I just have this thing that does this upsampling, and that's all it does? And I don't need an OS. I don't need a main memory. I don't need all this other stuff. And they have this idea of building GPU on a NIC, which is just like a network device without any CPU or any main memory. And it's literally, it's like you just have a direct calls you can make to it and shove it directly into GPU memory, and you can bypass all of the other infrastructure that is there. Just literally, the more you write directly into it, the more it is just a control plane. So the idea that you're talking about, I think, goes to that idea they have. Only they're not. I'm sure, they're focused more on like AI and everything there. But it's the same. It's the same reasoning. It'd be really, really cool if someone did that, to just be like, I have an 8K converter. I'm just going to shove this thing in here. I mean, it would probably run a little hot. It'd probably be like a box that, it probably wouldn't be that small.
But whatever, it would still be small than PS5.
Right. You plug one HDMI in, one HDMI out. I mean, you could,
Well, they didn't. I was just going to say, they didn't care how big they had to make that thing, as long as it was silent. That was like the biggest complaint about the PS4. Everyone's PS4s were like taken off like jets. And they're like, we need to make sure this thing's going to be whisper silent.
Is it whisper silent?
Except for when it's like cranking the disc to like pull all the data off of a disc. It gets
so loud.
It gets pretty loud when it like fires.
You don't just like load the discs onto the SSD or something?
I thought it did, but then like it installed the game, and I thought like, okay, cool, I don't need this disc anymore. And then as soon as I loaded the game, the fucking thing sounded like a jet engine.
No, but usually, I mean, and even as far as back as the Xbox One, you can say load game.
But that never did a full install.
Yeah, like, no, it did. You didn't need the CD.
Yeah?
No, you might need it, but it was like a check. It would never use it during load-in sequences. There was always like this option of fully load the game in all of its media, and it would blow the crap out of your storage, but you would never need to hear that awful noise.
Because that's what it suggests. Because it says copying disk instead of like installing game or installing application. It suggests that it is pulling all the data off the disk. But
then it reads the disk.
Then it just hulks out again. It's like, I'm spinning this disk fast.
Yeah, it's pretty loud.
But the fan is imperceivable.
Yeah, I've never heard the fan. But I'm actually afraid to put it in my so like my media center has like glass doors on it and whatnot. I'm afraid to put it inside that little cabinet, because like maybe the little cabinet's gonna get too hot.
Your glass is gonna just be melted the next day.
Well, it's like, the Xbox One's in there, and that's not a problem. But like, I can only imagine that thing is so big because it generates so much heat.
It has to be. It has to be a heat pushing heat problem. To your exact point, Adam, if you want a less powerful fan, you need a bigger area to move heat through, or you need a more powerful fan to move the heat through it. So
yeah, they have this like uni fan design. Like the whole thing is really weird in the teardown. It's I don't know. There's like these nice little points to vacuum out dust and stuff. They're like dust traps. I'm actually excited for that.
This thing, I mean, I know that consoles are just computers, but like this thing feels too much like a computer to me. Like, I don't want to vacuum anything out. Like, I don't want to. You are supposed to sit there and you're supposed to work forever. Like, that is your job. Like, I never have to, worry about you crashing. I never have to worry about software bugs. Like, you just work. And like, maybe this is my like lack of having played consoles since like
I think
a long time. But
I mean, the world of gaming has moved to aggressive patch updates, which has to come with bugs. Like every feature is 20 bugs ready to get released, right? So when you couldn't patch it and it was on a disc, yeah, but now that they're constantly changing and evolving, and I guess, it just feels like any other game, only I guess because the hardware is proprietary and consistent, it's probably easier to avoid bugs, but
Yeah.
I assume you can hit it.
Yeah, Adam. I mean, so do you know this is off topic a little bit because I recognize that I am being a little Veruca Salt here, because I want it all.
It's all right. You're
But
allowed.
do you know if I'm able to like register the games that I bought with PlayStation so that I don't have to I can just throw out the discs?
I don't know if they have a program like that.
Because I do not like. I'm looking at them like, wait, why did I buy these physical discs?
I don't think they do, to be honest. I think you will need those discs for the games that are associated with them. So you will be buying digital only from here on out.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
because the odds of me destroying one of those discs is way higher than the odds of like PlayStation not existing anymore or Sony not existing anymore and that service not being available for me to download.
Sure.
And like,
I mean, I can't think of the last time I've destroyed a disc, but yes, I would agree with you. It's still more likely.
you get lazy. You take them out and you just like throw them next to the console so you can put something else in.
It's
It
less
just
like
happens.
Will takes them and just like crushes them without realizing. It's more that he takes them out and the box is across the room and and then they start to pile up, and you're like, well, they're all protecting each other in theory, right? so maybe they'll all get broken and they'll all be fine. Yeah, I get that feeling. Well, I know that we've all done the toothpaste trick, so trying to revive games and get it to read that one stupid section that it won't read. I guess
it's amazing that actually works sometimes.
Sometimes it does. I remember every time I've ever tried it, I'm like, this is gonna sound crazy, but do you have any toothpaste? And they're like, it's gonna look way worse when I'm done with it, by the way. But let's be honest, you can't read it right now, so you're asking for a miracle. So maybe this will work.
It's like the hard drive in the freezer trick.
I haven't done the hard drive in the freezer trick.
Yeah, when a hard drive is about to it's going bad, you like put it in the freezer for a while, and then you could plug it in and like hope that it lasts long enough to be able to get your data off.
It's going against the clock on that one.
That's like the opposite of the video card in the oven trick.
What?
Yeah. Oh yeah, video card in the oven is like that's pretty well known. It's what you were supposed to do your Xbox when it red ringed.
Wait, you put the Xbox in an oven?
So you remelt the solder.
Yeah.
So that the connection gets made again.
Man, that had to have gone south for a few people.
But tell me consoles haven't been like computers for a while.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have. I had a red ringed Xbox.
Put my Xbox in the oven.
Hold on, my Xbox is almost done. Your pies can wait a second, damn it. All right, well, so no games, no real games except making PS4 games very pretty. That's always nice.
Will actually has the best scenario here because he skipped the PS4. So like them giving him that instant game collection is like a lot of it's some of the best stuff I've played in this generation, in the last generation. So it's he's in a good situation as far as that goes.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty excited to play some of the old PS4 games because I played none of the exclusives. But a lot of them aren't even exclusive anymore. So,
which to be clear, you could have played any time in the last 3 years.
Yeah, okay. On PC.
On your Xbox One.
Oh yeah, whatever. That thing I don't even. You know the only thing that thing only annoys me at this point because when I turn my TV on, it automatically boots up and like goes to it. I'm like, God damn it! So
I haven't figured out how to turn that off. It's annoying. It goes beep beep beep, and I'm like, I don't want to hear you spinning. I don't want to hear you spinning. Stop it.
I do not want to log in. I do not want to see that Entwined Squid 472 is playing Risk of Rain again.
Yeah, well, maybe I haven't figured it out. I haven't figured out the auto power on. I thought I figured it out. There's literally a setting that says auto power on or off. And I'm like, off. It's like, okay. And I turn my thing, it's like auto power on. I'm like, I don't I don't know. It doesn't work for me.
I just turned that off on my console this morning because I was sick of like exactly that. Turn off the console and the TV goes off. Then you go to turn it back on, the console comes on. I'm like, no, that's not what I want.
Well, so my TV, if you press the power button on the remote, like just a normal press, it turns it into art mode. So it doesn't actually turn off. And then like if you press the button again, because you have to turn have to press and hold it to turn art mode off and like the TV to power off, like pressing it again for whatever reason triggers the fucking Xbox to come back on. So like if I don't remember to like press and hold it when I want to turn the TV off, I go through this whole cycle again.
Yeah, well, you don't even use it. Why haven't you just unplugged it?
Yeah, I need because it's inside the media center, and I would have to like root around in there to figure out which cables are which.
Oh, that's its own quest, isn't it?
Yeah, where it's like, yeah, because like that thing looked clean for I don't know a couple weeks, and then it just became another place that I could pile shit and and put it out of the way.
What, so, like in the console, like in the parts in the middle of your okay.
Yeah, so like
mail in there.
No, I have like old computer parts and stuff, and like keyboards and like mice and like RAM and I don't know, a whole bunch of SSDs and like just all shoved in there. And well, like the Xbox is sitting on the bottom.
How has your living room become like your auxiliary storage location?
Well, no, but the living room isn't. The living room is very neat. The media center, which has closable doors, is not very neat.
But if they didn't have glass on them, you'd be okay.
Well, it only has glass on the top part.
Oh, so you see down.
Yeah.
Okay.
The bottom part is metal, so I can hide a whole bunch.
Yeah. So like whatever.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly my point.
It's not there. It's not there as far as I'm concerned.
It's out of sight.
Yeah. All right. So we covered the PS5, and I look forward to more games and game reviews to see if there's something really, really interesting, or maybe some PS4 games that you really, really like that are really pretty now. That'll be really, really cool. Let's get to the COVID thing. So vaccine announced. 25 million doses is what I've heard as an estimate that'll start getting released, right? The idea that there's 50 million.
That is from just Pfizer.
Yes. I'd heard of other vaccines coming. Are you speaking about another one coming out, Will?
Yeah, there's the Moderna vaccine as well.
Do you know how many doses?
No, I have no idea how many.
But also going through like the final trials that saw a high success rate and all that good stuff, right?
Yeah, so it's over like 95% efficacy,
which is pretty darn nice.
It's pretty good. Yeah. And also it looks like so there was just an article in the New York Times last week that COVID immunity could last years. So like they're, because this is new, right? They're having to like follow people who got it early to be like, hey, do you still have antibodies? And it turns out that like the vast majority of people who have recovered from COVID still have enough antibodies to fend off the disease, like after 8 months. So they're predicting that like immunity from that would last years, which is nice because like originally it was like, we don't know if it's going to last more than 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, there's definitely evidence, at least in some people, the antibodies were hitting the levels where you could get infected again, right? So maybe that's just a small portion of the people.
Yeah, and I mean there were definitely people who've gotten it twice, but not that many. Like that's pretty rare.
I mean, with a multi-year immunity, all right, I don't know anything about any of this stuff, but my very basic understanding, isn't this enough to potentially like wipe this thing? Is that enough time?
Well, yeah, except that like you would still need a vast majority of people to get it, right? Which is not so helpful.
No, but the vaccine,
it has a case fatality rate of like 1.5% or so.
I meant more. Um, I guess you're right. Maybe I was answering a different question. So the vaccine that would, in theory, work. I mean, we get some vaccines, we get them once when we're young, and that's it. If this is anything like that, with the 95%, like this could be on a path to making this thing a very, very low, very one-off, like almost, maybe not rare, but very, very, very uncommon way to get sick, and then even less common to die, right? Like this could become very, 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 very low, case rate, death rate, all of that with this 95%.
Yeah.
And it has to hit a level where it does get stomped out. I have to imagine, like, if you get vaccines, there has to be enough where you can eventually vaccinate the whole country.
Yeah,
but what's the
it
adoption
becomes.
rate?
Yeah, that's the thing. It becomes more of a question of how many people are willing to take it.
Okay, so that was the that was the question here is Trump acknowledges that the coronavirus is real. I don't think he's put blame on China for it. I haven't really seen him push the it's fake thing. He's downplayed it, but I haven't really seen him say that it doesn't exist. And I mean, he got it, for God's sake. So do you think the majority or any significant portion of the Trump support will reject the idea of the vaccine because this virus doesn't exist?
Yeah, I was going to let Adam answer, but I mean, so Trump wants, like, he's trying to take credit for the vaccine, right?
Right.
Like this is the thing that I made, right? I facilitated this vaccine, so it's in his best interests, at least right now, to really promote its use and promote its how effective it is. Um, that said, um, I think that the Venn diagram of Trump supporters and the and people who are too stupid to take a vaccine has a lot of crossover. Um, so
He himself Trump has been inconsistent about his stance on vaccines. I mean, these are vaccines that he's trying to take credit for, to your point. So, he's all about these vaccines, but in the past he's talked about, the load that babies get and poking them and the number of vaccinations, blah, 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 blah. Just, the exact kind of stuff you'd want, you'd expect somebody that's setting up, rhetoric for anti-vaxxers to be spouting, basically. So these are good vaccines because he is trying to hitch himself to them, but I don't know. It's hard to say where these people land. Do they trust Trump now, or do they trust Trump from 2016?
or more, or maybe like more consequentially, do they use Trump not in office to distrust the vaccine like delivery mechanisms, right? Like, oh, now it's Biden delivering these vaccines, and we can't trust the Biden administration.
Right. Right. Like, I mean, they wouldn't take it. They wouldn't not take it to spite Biden. Although I feel like there's some crazy small majority.
Yeah, I don't think it's the spite. I think it's the distrust.
But it has been good. Trump's been talking it up. That definitely hasn't been helping.
I think it'll be a pretty small set of people who won't take the vaccine. I think it'll be like
20, anti-vaxxers today.
Or something. Yeah, and I mean, I think that like it'll be interesting to see what regulations get put in place, either publicly or privately, about requiring this vaccine, right? So like, hey, you don't want to take the vaccine, like, I guess that's your choice. We can't force it upon you, but you're not allowed to do all of these things, right? Like, cool, you're not allowed to work at all of these places because you have to be vaccinated.
Or like kids go to school. Like kids can't go to public school without regular vaccines. Adding this to the list feels like a no-brainer once we have the supply and all that, right?
Yeah. So, I think there will be enough societal pressure on most people to take the vaccine.
speaking of vaccinations and people choosing to take them or not, Colleen and I have actually, we were talking about this the other day, but in December when we were in the hospital with my son being born, there were a shocking number of medical staff, nurses and so on and so forth, that had masks on. They were required to wear masks pre-pandemic if they didn't get the flu shot. I couldn't believe the number of unvaccinated, people walking around the hospital.
It's like a 30-second thing, and you can get it anywhere. I mean, I know there can be shortages at times, but that's insane to me.
They work at the hospital. They can just get it at the hospital.
Right. Like, can't you just be like, hey, you, and just point to someone and be like, give me a they're literally free. I can walk into a CVS and be like, I want a flu shot, and they just give it to you.
Yeah, it's kind of mind blowing, especially now thinking about everything that's been going on since, that there were that many people walking around, and like I said, like with newborn babies, like it was some of the most vulnerable people around. I don't know. It was kind of shocking.
What was your bet that those were people who didn't believe in it, but then reluctantly wore the mask to not lose their job? And how many people were lazy? Like, I don't know what you want to like. I don't think of healthcare workers as lazy, but like, what's the other explanation? It's December. It wasn't flu season. Like, I can get a flu shot right now,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to speculate on that. I would guess not laziness. It seems
that
to
doesn't
be a choice. I mean, like Will said, I mean, they're in a hospital, they can get the flu shot. They're there.
Yeah, I think also the flu shots are like, hey, it's only going to protect you from, 60% of the flu strains or whatnot. So it's like, it's easier to justify in your head, like, well, it's not really that effective anyway, and people have the idea that like they're going to get sick and run down from it. So it's just not worth the hassle.
Unless you have to wear a mask every day.
Well, obviously, it's worth like them
some hassle.
They don't think that the mask is that big of a deal.
Right. Hey, Brian.
Hola.
How's it going?
Good.
We were talking about the vaccine. If we think the majority of the population is very likely to take it, which I think we have high hopes that they will.
Oh.
Just because Trump's been talking it up, which has been a good thing. I don't know how he thinks it can help him at this point. I think if it was a month or two ahead of time, it really could have. And maybe he's just riding it out because he wants credit for everything. But I don't know how it matters at this point. But I think him talking about a vaccine acknowledges that it does exist. But then you still hear stories of people who fundamentally who think it's a hoax. So clearly, it's people, like probably like Rush Limbaugh and Christ, any of those people on like right-wing radio that are taking Trump's downplaying to mean, some crazy extreme. So I don't know if it'll reach them, but
there you just touched on so many different threads.
Yeah.
I mean, in aggregate, polls I've seen for a while now have been a surprisingly small percentage of people saying that, yes, I would take a vaccine.
Well, it depends on how they word that question. I mean,
which is fair, but like, I mean, anecdotally, even Alina is like, nah, I don't know if I'd take one anytime soon. But I think there's a spectrum of those things, or would you take one tomorrow? Would you take one 2 months from now? Would you take one 5 months from now?
I would have taken one 5 months ago.
Yeah. If the CDC, if it passed our FDA drug trials,
and even if you would take it, you wouldn't be necessarily offered it. I mean, there's rollout.
Oh yeah.
Right. Like that's what I'm like. There's so many different factors going on here, and even what was it? Dana was saying about the percentage of people at the hospitals.
Yeah, I don't think we're supposed to know that.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, like
something
NDA. I don't know what number she said.
Sure. But like, I mean, like it all follows with I mean, both the left and the right, if I'm going to use the big L, big R or whatever, or is it the little ones? I don't know. Like they each have their own reasons and groups inside of them that are like, no, this is bad. It's bad because Trump, or it's bad because it's a hoax, right? Like,
So I think the left has, I don't know if they've cornered, but I think they have the majority of the anti-vaxxers in the world.
oh, most definitely.
So I feel like this is a layup for them to reject it, right? But like
Right.
they've always been around. That's annoying, but that's not clearly systemic. You know, their kids can't go to public schools and all that kind of stuff, and you know they're ostracized and they sit in their hole. And then there was the part on the left who said they wouldn't take a vaccine that was rushed to market, where like there's whistleblowers being like, this hasn't gone through the FDA approvals, but Trump's trying to rush it because he wants a vaccine. Like, I think that the general
Exactly.
left
That's
on the
it.
no Trump thing was under that kind of like, who knows what kind of pressure Trump is putting on to get this out. And I cannot imagine the enormous pressure he probably put to put something out. Like, I would not have been surprised if he released something that just felt off and we just started getting reports immediately of like, do not take this, you know?
Right. Yep. So, I mean, you just take all of those things together and you're going to, I mean, every poll I've seen is surprisingly small numbers. But I think there's going to be a timeline that'll happen where like slowly, like the number of doses that are even available are so small, right? Like they're being, like, I know in Massachusetts, they're being like a fraction of the amount that any particular hospital needs just to cover their like frontline responders are being provided to those hospitals. And like, there you go. So then a week will go by, 2 weeks will go by, a month will go by, and slowly like people will warm up to the idea, like who are the ones who are being even like greenlit to be like, yes, this kind of a person because of their risk categories or their age or what they're doing. Like, that'll just move over time. And I'm hoping it trends in the right way. I mean, I'll take it eventually, but I feel like I'm on the bottom.
We need
of
a plane to just fly over Florida and just
right, like crop dust it.
State of Florida. Get everyone's grandparents, please. Just get all of them in one shot.
Or like drones that fly around and like hunt you down and like stab you. Like
just shoot these little darts that get you. I'll be back in 3 months to get your second booster.
It's like the droid that flies into Leia's holding cell in episode 4.
I know that is definitely the mental image that I have.
Is that what it was? Was that just was that COVID 148 or something like that?
That's right.
You rebels, you goddamn anti-vaxxers.
I'm pretty good being on the bottom of the list of people to get it though.
Oh yeah, ditto.
Yeah, I'll just sit at home for longer. That's okay.
That's the thing. I personally, whether or not I'm personally comfortable taking any particular version of the vaccine is irrelevant. Like, I'm not going to be somebody who needs to take it or who has the right to take it, right? From a like society's goodness standpoint for months, many months. I never leave my fucking house and I have no reason to, so.
That's fair. And no, it's fair. Hopefully a lot of people start to take it. I want that thing that happens in society where I feel like I can go out even with a mask and feel generally like the infection rate is very, very, very low. You know, in New York is probably better than most, and like I'll go outside, but I won't go anywhere indoors. You know what I mean? It no public spaces like that, right? So it'd be nice to feel like I could do that. Maybe not concerts, but you know, feel like you could go to a dinner inside somewhere and not.
Yeah, I think to your point, the push for like normalcy is going to drive people to get vaccinated, right?
Mm.
Like, I want to go back to normal. Even like, you know, people who are, you know, a little bit distrustful, you know, people who are like Alina, who are a little bit concerned about the, you know, side effects or whatever she's concerned about, but is like not anti-vax in any way.
Right. She's concerned about
yeah.
corner cutting science.
Yeah.
I mean,
like
literally.
Yeah, those people, like when they see like, oh, like people who are vaccinated can go to restaurants and shit like that. I think they'll come around to it pretty quickly, just because the desire for normalcy is so high.
Yeah.
So interestingly, on the vaccination thing, did you see that the story about Moderna's vaccine only taking them 2 days to develop?
What?
Yeah, so they developed it in 2 days back in February, and the rest of it has been getting it
Trials?
approved. Yeah.
Jeez.
So, and it's like the same. It is the same vaccine that they developed in 2 days.
I really like hearing that. That
Yeah.
makes me feel good.
So we have a workflow bottleneck that is not the part that's actually the innovative part. It's
Fucking QA approval.
Yeah.
QA
like,
sending
hey-
it back to dev, being like needs more work. You're like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. The thing's fine.
Well, no, the scientists are like, hey, this thing is definitely going to kill coronavirus. Spend the next 8 months making sure it also doesn't kill the person.
Right, yeah.
like we are definitely sure this will kill coronavirus. Like we're not so sure about the rest of it.
Could you imagine like the first submittal was like a bullet with a gun? It's like, okay, so we know this will definitely kill it. You send this back if you're seeing any patient side effects.
Yeah,
They're
that
like,
was the vaccine they developed.
We don't
in
like that one. Try again.
Yeah, that was the vaccine they developed in 1 hour. It took them 47 hours to make the actual vaccine.
Oh, so you want one that doesn't kill people? Jesus Christ, why didn't you put that in the goddamn requirements document from the beginning?
I'm seeing like 60 to 70% of current, like a couple of different polls.
On who would take them?
Yeah.
To Will's point,
which I think that's a fine number for out of the gate, right? Like, okay. I mean, we were just going for a walk today and talking like, so can we do this without a mask once we're vaccinated? It's like, well, probably won't want to even then, right? Like, vaccine isn't 100% effective. You don't want to add to the chances of people who can't get the vaccine of getting, right? That's the whole, so curious to see how that part spins out too.
It's funny because you're right, but I was thinking 95% efficacy. Like I would feel like that actually helps protect me, even if a lot of people choose not to. You don't. I mean, at least for my own protection, you don't need herd immunity as much if it's 95% effective.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's all percentage games. I mean, literally, it's all percentage games.
I'd be completely fine if masks have broken the social awkward barrier. We blew right past that to the point where
it's on your state.
I think anywhere in any state, even if you're the odd person out, people don't look at you like there's something wrong. I mean, you can have people that are just like crazy off to the side that like it's not real. Why are you doing that? You're a sheep. But outside of those people, it's normalized. It's fine. It's just a normal thing to see.
If
that's a good point. A year ago, if somebody was wearing a mask, I would literally be like, "Is this person from the moon? What's going on?"
Well, in New York City, like on the train, you would, if you saw somebody in a mask, like 99% chance they were Asian and 1% chance they were insane.
Yeah.
Right. Like, yeah. What I'm interested in is whether or not for coronavirus, right? Not for COVID, but whether or not mask adoption becomes kind of standard for people who are just sick, right? Like if you have a cold or if you have if you have the flu or whatever it is, where we've normalized the fact that like do the responsible thing and wear a mask.
I'm gonna be honest.
I'm hoping that happens.
Until this pandemic, a thought never occurred to me that if I had a cold, I should put on a mask because it just seems like the right thing to do.
Yeah, that's why they wear them in Asia.
Yeah,
those fuckers beat us on that curve for sure.
Oh, crushed us. But yeah, like going to like that person who's in the office who's got a very light cold, and they feel they're at like 85% and they're working through it, and everyone's like, "Hey, you should. I want you to go." I'm like, "No, I want to work." Like, no, I don't want to get like go.
Yeah.
It's
like, not about you. It's about me.
Yeah. Like it's about everyone else in this office. Like, congratulations, I'm happy you're pushing through this. Can you push through it at home, please? away from us. just go away. But like they've already been there, and a lot of times people don't know it, and then you have your, but the idea that you can come on while you're at work, right? And you're like, I'm just gonna work out the day. The idea that didn't even think to me that, oh, if I just had a mask, I would make it less likely to infect other people. It was such, I was like, what do you mean? And now to Will's point, it could just be like, oh, I'm feeling a little sick, I'm just gonna put this thing on, and no one will think twice about it.
Yeah, just in case.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And in general, hopefully, like washing hands, like general sanitation, hopefully has taken an uptick.
The number one thing that COVID has taught me is that I never washed my hands properly in 37 years.
Oh yeah,
COVID.
I literally watched a video on it, and it's far more. There's far more steps than I realized. I'll be honest. Yeah, far more.
What?
There's like 5 steps. Okay, do you want me to walk through it? Okay. There's this step, right, where you do this, right?
Oh, okay. By steps, you mean like rub your hands in all like angles and stuff.
Yeah, no, it's this, then it's this.
I thought you meant more steps besides put soap on your hands, scrub for a while, rinse it off.
But that's the point, is that then there's this.
Yeah.
That's the one I never did.
I never did those. I never did the circle. They're like, get under your fingertips. I'm like, oh my God, I've never got it on my fingertips.
Like I've done the thumb ones. I've done the back and forth and between your fingers, but
the other ones felt kind of more natural. This one, I was like sneaky.
Get under those fingernails, right?
I'm like, but that's where all the taste is when I bite my fingernails.
Oh, dude.
Actually, near the very beginning of COVID, Elena found like an Instagram mom that made a nursery rhyme out of like washing your hands for like 30-40 seconds and like flapping wings of the butterfly or like petting the cat, and basically it's stimulating all those different sorts of motions of like get on the backs of your hands, get your fingertips, get like between all the fingers, right, all that kind of stuff. And that for me was like, oh right, duh. That makes a lot more sense.
You want all of the hand to get washed? I mean, okay, right?
I can't just like squish the soap between my palms and then be like, okay, now to wipe off the suds. I'm done.
I'm sure it got everywhere. Yeah, okay. Well, I don't know where that started on anti-vaxxing. I think we basically covered that, right? But Brian, you missed the PS5 talk. We're gonna move on. So, in my lefty agenda, I'm gonna have a fun little quick thing that's all think will be a moment before moving on to maybe some kind of general recommendations or other stuff you guys want to talk about. But it was announced Biden's communication team, I think, is for the most part complete, and it's all female. And that was kind of, I'm sure I'm putting words in the mouth, but the way I read it was kind of, hey, look, like progressive-y kind of, Biden's bringing in women and look at him, like, bringing in women in large groups. Now again, compared to Trump, all of this is amazing. Nothing here is in direct relation to Trump because it is not to say that the counter was good. The counter was terrible, but just more like the narrative in my mind of, bringing a bunch of women to run the communications department just felt still kind of gender role-y, and not like, I felt like, the media was calling up what a very small appearance of some kind of, oh, he's bringing women into high position roles, and it's like, yeah, communication is important, but that's like every corporation in the world. Like every corporation that I go to, marketing and HR are a woman dominated profession in those areas. So it just felt like the thing that women always the roles they tend to get were just the roles that he happened to get in this administration, and it brought up the idea that, granted, Kamala's a VP, so it's not like he's not bringing women in the mix, but it kind of felt like we're gonna celebrate the idea that he's bringing a bunch of women. I'm like, yeah, but you're bringing them into like the roles that they end up getting funneled into in every corporation, because they don't get the other roles that they end up, far more women want but can't get into it, so they go into the one that all the women take. I don't know. It was just kind of like a weird like I don't know what we're celebrating here.
So I guess my apologist take on it, because I don't know, I haven't read that take really, is one, if like women are more likely to go into communications, and B, that then they're probably the ones with the most expertise, and they're who I would want. Like I would want a woman in that position if women are the ones with the most expertise in running a communications department. But also, he hired or announced Neera Tanden as his OMB director, right?
Oh.
And that's a pretty important role.
That is a big one.
So I don't think it's just like token women in the token women's department, right?
No, OMB is a
and
pretty legit role.
I don't think he's announced a lot of high level positions yet. So yeah, like Secretary of State and Chief of Staff,
those are, I mean, OMB is still pretty high up there, but that's like, those are the ones. And granted, I know like there's a VP role, but if there were to ever be a high level token role in government, it is VP, right?
I mean, yeah, it's
like, it is the like closest to power yet relatively small amount of power. It's like it's why Palin gets a shot at VP,
yeah, because
I'm sorry, does VP actually have any power except if the president dies?
They're the Senate, the president of the Senate.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
They decide the ties, which could become like that could
100%
become significantly important.
What is it, Senate pro temp, something like that?
Yeah, right. But it's more of a position of, besides like the idea that you become president in the event that the president is incapable of performing their duties, it doesn't naturally come with a lot of power. Where chief of staff and like secretary, these have legitimate power. I would say.
I mean, chief of staff has no explicit power. Chief of staff
sorry.
is just chief of staff has the power because
they're the gatekeeper for like information of
chief
to
of
Biden.
Staff, but they have no actual power. Like they can't actually do something.
Chief of staff is just an unelected VP.
No,
chief of staff is way more important.
No,
than VP.
like I would say on who has the most direct influence to Biden without actually having power. Like chief of staff is probably like right up at the top there.
Yeah, who's the second most important person in politics? Probably president's chief of staff.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I'm not trying to really take it wasn't really a shot at Biden at all. It was more a shot at like the narrative that I saw a little bit in the media of like, hey, Biden's bringing a bunch of women in. I'm like, yeah, okay, but he could do more.
I mean, maybe we should chill with the sniping from the left.
Hey, we're in a lefty space. I had this conversation with you. We're in a lefty space right now. I should feel free to criticize the left as much as I want, because when I go into the real world, it's the last thing I'm doing.
Get that system.
But like in our safe space here, I'm gonna do some of it. Okay.
It's funny because Will said what I was thinking, are there backgrounds in communications? But actually, if their backgrounds were in communications and he put them in other positions, that would be the token appointment, would it not?
I'm not saying take a woman who's an expert in communication, make her chief of staff.
Biden did name his chief of staff, by the way.
I don't actually. I didn't know that. I didn't catch that.
Yeah, like mid-November. Okay, I thought we had said, Ron Klain. Who I don't know anything more besides his name.
He ran the Ebola task force in the Obama administration.
The catastrophe that was the Ebola in America.
Yeah, there are like 14 cases of Ebola. Documented cases in America.
No, remember, Ebola was the easiest virus to solve, and it was an absolute disaster for the U.S. And coronavirus, there was nothing Trump could do, right?
I mean, Ebola is I feel like Ebola is a much easier thing to solve. Than because it kills you really quickly, and it can only be transferred by mucous membrane, right? So it can only be transferred by like droplets and stuff, whereas coronavirus is airborne. But your point stands, Jim.
Right. They're not the same thing, but you know what I was trying to say.
But he still did a very good job running the Ebola task force. The important work of the Ebola task force wasn't in the United States. It was in Africa.
Yeah. Well, like it was it wasn't just us, but it was like the remote work that we had done there. and like getting
Yeah.
ahead of it and having, you
Yeah,
know,
we gave like $300 million for hospitals in why can't I think of the country where the most severe outbreak came? But yeah,
well, I guess my whole point was, I guess this is maybe more of a reaction, but like in corporations, typically you talk about, you know, oh, we hire a lot of women, and then you look at where the women are, and they tend to be in marketing and communications, and that was the whole point. That's all it was. It was just kind of like more to the general appearance of this kind of, you know, oh, we're not, you know, we're meeting the numbers and the percentages, and then you look at where the women are getting funneled to, and you're like, yeah, okay, but like there's clearly disparity here, and like my gut, you know, reaction to that kind of like, you know, stats to hide what is still very much a problem. I got a feeling of when seeing how people reporting on this. That's all.
I hear exactly what you're saying.
Okay, sorry. It's a very, very minor gripe, and it's actually not even a gripe against Biden. It was more against the media covering it. So
No, I mean, affirmative action is tricky.
well, I mean, I don't even think that these are affirmative action choices.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're saying affirmative action is just to any disenfranchised group, but affirmative action tends to be more.
When I think about the umbrella concept that you're touching on, that's kind of, I guess, the word that I associate with it. Like intentionally going out of your way to choose employees from particular genetic groups, if I can use the broadest term possible, in order to fix perceived imbalances in the past. Yeah, there's a lot of landmines in that area.
Yeah, people fucking hate affirmative action.
Incredibly hard to legislate because every game you playing ultimately becomes another numbers game for people to like engineer around. But if you have an honest intent on going against it, that's exactly what you do. You would say, find me, like if he was saying chief of staff, find me a woman chief of staff. Now you can look at that and say, well, why would you do that when there's a bunch of men? Well, there's a lot of positive effects, and you or you would say something like, find me 10 candidates and make sure half of them are women. Now you, because you don't realize that like the systemic problem isn't one ply deep, it's like 10 ply deep, right? So you literally have to like be very, very, very obvious and force what appears to be some kind of favoritism that people think like market demand would say that women would be in this role if women could do the role, which is just nonsense, right? So like you have to create an obvious counterforce to the systemic problem, right?
I like you pointing out that it's multiple ply deep.
Yes.
That is, I will unequivocally agree with that.
Yeah. Which is like when he said he wanted
when and where is the right time to solve it, or whose responsibility it is, and in what way it's best to go about doing that. That's where you just walk into a field of landmines. I mean, you just sprung one of those mines on Biden with this subject header, right?
Well, I was really more attacking the media than Biden, because I think like
sure.
I mean, Biden saying I'm going to hire a woman VP, while I think it is a token-ish role, I think is still very meaningful. And you can say, oh, you're just going to hire. I think it's absolutely meaningful. So that's a good. You can't say that's not a good step, right?
I mean, yeah, symbols matter.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And this is a really positive symbol.
Yeah. The idea that she won't have, you know, an effect similar to like that whole Scully effect stuff, like that I was talking about that one time. I mean, these things have these ripple effects that can bring can change mindsets across, you know. I don't know how you really ever track it, but it's like you can kind of
a multitude of intangible ways.
Yeah, that they're like, these are good things. These are going to have ripple effects over the next 15, 20 years that we're going to find out about, right? Some woman is going to be doing some crazy, amazing thing, and someone's going to write an article about her and be like, what was it? I'm like, oh, I was 7 and Kamala became VP of the United States. Like it flipped something in her head, you know? It's just cool. It's cool seeing those things. So
Yeah. Also, it puts Kamala as the kind of de facto front runner for 2024.
which would be another really good thing. So I feel like there's a higher likelihood that she would have a woman chief of staff, but we'll see.
Was it-
Yeah, so I mean, chief of staff is going to be like the person that you trust the most to be competent at the job, and like it's somebody you have a personal, deep relationship with. So it makes sense as to that's more likely to be male from Biden's perspective, and would probably be more likely to be female from Harris's perspective.
To be clear, I think we can all go around, but my chief of staff would be Will for sure.
I don't think that's a good idea.
I think you're. What do
No,
you think? I'm gonna choose Andrew?
No,
Like Dave?
no,
Like-
I am not a details person.
Yeah,
Like,
but like
in like I'm not. I don't care what your schedule is. I am a senior advisor to the president. Like I want the you don't actually have any
You don't want
responsibilities. You're just advice.
oh, so all right, so you'll be like the gut check with no responsibility to
Exactly.
hold to research and deadlines. But if you do know about the topic, you should weigh in.
Let me go learn about this stuff, but I don't want to manage who should talk to you. That's a bad idea. You need
Like,
somebody, you need somebody
we're-
details oriented.
No,
Like,
no one has come to me today. It was like they were all awful. Just they're all a bunch of idiots. I don't.
I feel like a good chief of staff is a good project manager. And like that is a very specific personality.
Yeah, but project managers feel neutral to the topics. Like that's a coordination thing. You want someone who has an opinion on it.
Maybe. I don't know.
Dude, I'm
You're-
gonna go watch the West.
I don't think any of our friends would be
Dude,
would be good
go.
at that.
I'm gonna go watch The West Wing again. I'm gonna prove you wrong because
Your guys' product managers are a lot different than our product managers.
Product management is good. Project managers are worth their weight in gold. And bad ones are very easily identified and then should be fired immediately.
oh, I was gonna make a bad Game of Thrones reference, but I couldn't remember her name. You know, like the wife. He got paid her
Okay.
weight in gold.
Catherine Stark?
No,
Which
The-
one? I don't know. Which
the,
one?
the ones that betrayed the Starks that stabbed them. Remember?
No.
Oh, you guys. All right. The guy who like ended up
I
eating
think you're
his.
trying to say Lannister, but
No. The ones that
Oh,
betrayed
yeah.
the Starks that were Stark allies.
Oh,
the red
Oh.
wedding.
Yeah,
The big
phrase. The phrase.
the
Walter
phrase.
Frey.
Walter, remember what he said? They said, whatever wife you marry, I'll pay her weight in gold. And that. Anyways, sorry, it was just a bad joke. Okay, that's where it went. It couldn't form in my head fast enough. I didn't know enough of it. And you guys apparently don't care that much about Game of Thrones, so I didn't read the books. I don't know. Okay, so Biden, good stuff. I don't really have anything negative to say about him because he hasn't started yet. I think he's fine.
Do you
I
guys definitely think he's not running in 2024?
I would find it very unlikely.
I thought you said he only plans to be one.
Yeah,
term.
there was talk of it being a one-term presidency, right? Like obviously anything can change, but he's old as shit,
He is
He
old.
is old as shit.
right? And like the actuarial tables for him not so good, even with that like primo presidential health care.
Regeneron.
Which makes it like doubly more insane why like Sanders was still in the race after he had a heart attack. Like that was completely
that.
insane to me. Like, what are you doing? You had a heart attack. There's like a 78% chance, like some crazy high percent chance that you do not make it through your first term. Like you are a 78-year-old heart attack survivor. But ego's a hell of a thing.
Maybe we would have made Warren VP and you would have gotten your dream well.
No,
No?
he wouldn't have made Warren VP.
You know how I know Biden's gonna live forever? You see those pearly whites, man? That's its own healthcare plan right there. That guy has a smile like I've never seen before. He can just turn it on and I just want to be his friend.
It's almost like he's a politician.
Yeah, well, he's got premium smile. I've seen there's a lot of bad smiles in government. He's got one of the good ones. Okay. I don't really have any other main topics because besides going to the room and ask you guys for recommendations, I always want to hear because I end up, reading or watching or doing whatever you guys mention. But you guys have any other general topics before we go into something interesting that you want the rest of the group to look at?
I really love reading judges destroying Trump lawyers' transcripts in court. They're just fantastic.
Do you watch Legal Eagle on YouTube?
I just watched the most recent one.
Yeah.
Like while I was working, it was really good.
Yeah,
a good chunk of that content I'd already seen though, or just the like some of the particular like. So you're not alleging fraud? No. Okay.
How many people?
Like, just totally clear. Like we're not alleging fraud. We're not alleging anybody voted illegally at all. Like smash cut to Trump like screaming like there's fraud. It was all illegal. It's like one of these people will get disbarred if they lie. Whereas the other one, if they lie, they get more power from their base. Incentives, baby. They're weird.
The Kraken was released, I think, this Friday. Sidney Powell released her official, which was like riddled with typos and errors and sources, some being QAnon. Like it just yeah. She in the official document filed has affidavits from QAnon people, affiliated people. Yeah.
What does that even mean? Like shots of like screen caps from 4chan?
I think my guess is someone who is willing to say something that is in a position where there's enough plausibility that they could have seen something, and just going to their Facebook page is just riddled with all of the worst things. Like there was a recent one, like Crowder did it. Do you guys know who Steven Crowder is? He's like late 20s. He's a commentator. He's the guy that would go to colleges and do that change my mind thing. You probably heard of that. He'll go to college and you've seen it memed probably where
he
sits up a table.
Sits at a table.
Yeah, and he says he'll put out like a very something gay marriage shouldn't be legal, change my mind thing. He'll do like a very big out there statement. And he plays on the idea that college kids who aren't ready to talk, he'll come with some very specific facts that, it's like, I can't, like he'll have argument tactics and he'll mess around with college kids. Right. And try and do like, I'm going to make fun of you kind of thing. But he done this like 2 hour, all of the things and they were going through them. And one of them was someone like wheeled in a red wagon into an election counting center and they couldn't see what was in it. And so it was just like a radio flyer, right? Like someone wheeled it in and they're like, and the person was like, and there's like a 6-second video clip. They're like, we don't know what's in there. And they're like, do you think it could be votes? And the girl who took it like, yeah, I think it could be votes. And it just went to like someone wheeling in a radio flyer into a thing became, we don't know what to be to, these are the Biden votes. We found them. And you can't see anything inside them. You have no idea what it is. They're like, it couldn't be like, this is the only thing it could possibly be. And then apparently like election officials, caught this because it caught a lot of local media. Like it was batteries. We ran out of batteries. Batteries are heavy. We put them in a wagon. They were bad. And it's just, it's just 100 of those. Right. And I think that I wouldn't be surprised if that's the kind of crap that she was listing.
Yeah.
I mean, she was willing to reference Hugo Chavez, like software developed by an unrelated company is the same software developed by the people from Dominion. It was one of the weakest conspiracy theories I've seen, right? Like the moon landing being fake, I felt has a better argument. So
Well,
sorry, go ahead, Adam.
Kind of polling place doesn't have batteries. It has a radio flyer.
Okay, so Adam's like, you know what? I'm calling bullshit. I think those were definitely the Biden votes.
Just thinking about the likelihood of having a wagon around.
Yeah.
I'm not
Who has
claiming
a wagon?
conspiracy, but I'm just saying, where did they get the radio flyer with fitting the batteries? This is crazy. Where are these priorities? It's like Mr. T priorities here.
I'm gonna put radio fly. I'm literally googling right now. Well, you're gonna say something. Sorry.
So I mean, Sidney Powell is like clearly lost her mind a little bit. She also represented Michael Flynn. So I'm kind of curious as to like why this happened to her. Like, how did she go off the deep end to become like either super craven, super blackmailed, or a true believer? Like,
Right. Yeah, that's always the question. Which is it? Like,
I think so. I caught a very brief bio of someone wrote on her, and apparently someone, I guess, who was close enough, or maybe it's all speculation, said she backed Enron, and there was an attorney like Wiseman, who I guess was somewhat involved in the stuff recently. I haven't really tracked the whole thing, but there was a semi-legitimate gripe about her defendant, who was some exec at Enron, right, which was an awful company, right, like obviously corrupt, but like something about the federal government, getting their way and legitimate evidence not being able to be presented, which the judge later said, yeah, that was a shitty thing by the prosecutor. I don't think it would have changed anything. So we're not changing anything, but yeah, like they screwed over your client a little bit. And her just like it, whatever source was being quoted was like, it broke her. Like it made her go, oh, like the system is broken. And then she just took like a right turn and then just never looked back after that. And it's just support like the craziest conspiracy theories possible, because I'm sure the government is fundamentally corrupt on a level that cannot be redeemed. I think she's a true believer. Is my point.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of hope so, because that's like the easiest thing for me to buy, or like, is that she's just insane. I did see there was an amusing Twitter post that said that the strangest thing about this, and I just put it into Slack in the podcast, the strangest part of this press conference was the rest of Sidney Powell's outfit.
wow, that is intense.
Yeah. And like, it's like, whatever, people should be, you can wear whatever you want, and it's poor form to like commentate on a woman's outfit, right? Like that just feels like not something I should do. That said, it doesn't feel like it is befitting a lawyer for the president, right? Like it's just
alleging something quite this.
Yeah, like, it's just not formal enough, right? And I had this conversation with Megan the other day where I'm happy that the White House is like, you're going to have to wear a suit and tie in the White House again with Biden, right? Like no more fucking Kid Rock showing up in a cowboy hat standing in the Oval Office. And like, I'm not, for the formalities of like, I don't want to wear a suit to work every day. Like, I'm happy that like, my office, you can finally wear like jeans and a shirt and it's fine. But like, there's this respect that you should have for the office that requires some formality and like requires like that level of deference. And I'm glad that that'll be back, because it just feels so off that, you would have somebody in a fucking cowboy hat and a t-shirt sitting in the Oval Office talking to the president.
I want some more political theater back in my politics.
Yeah, she's got some serious Carol Baskin energy with that, I'll be honest.
I don't disagree with you, but does putting Rudy in a suit make him befitting?
Well, this is actually the problem with your argument, is it makes Rudy Giuliani look legitimate and competent. So
I'm saying the suit doesn't even make him look legitimate or competent.
He looks like a Frankenstein's monster in that picture. Look at him. Just
he's like 94% COVID in that picture. So
is that what was dripping out of his scalp?
Yeah. I mean, he is melting. Like he's just going to turn into a cartoon of the coronavirus, right? His head is going to turn into like the cell with all the red.
Like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, he'll pull off his human mask, and there'll be like a fully animated COVID molecule under there that's like
Rudy, it was you the whole time.
Do you remember me, Donald?
How did it spread so much? And meanwhile,
I-
he's just tapping his head and just putting it everywhere. You're like, oh, I get it now.
I spread the virus. I talk just like this.
I can't wait to screw Zoe up by showing her that movie.
So that movie was horrifying. when I
Yeah,
first
that
saw it.
movie's really, it's out there. It's a weird one.
Movie's one of my favorites. I love that movie.
I haven't seen it in far too long.
But that just like Beetlejuice, I saw way too young. Right? Beetlejuice is an amazing movie, except when you're 5, and then it's terrifying.
Yeah.
I can't handle looking at Alec Baldwin in that movie.
Really?
He's in it? I didn't actually.
Which one?
He's like the main dead guy. He's the main character. See, none of you can identify.
Oh no,
with
no, yeah,
Alec
no.
Baldwin.
He's the guy.
Yeah.
He's the guy.
Yeah,
Gina-
he's the
Gina
dead,
Davis
he's the
is,
dead husband.
Yeah, yeah.
He looks basically unrecognizable. Thinking about current Alec Baldwin. I don't know.
Really? I
that's-
actually think Alec Baldwin looks exactly the same. Just
Really? I don't know. I think the weight makes him look like a different human being.
although like Alec Baldwin is just Jack Donaghy. Like I feel like that was he was just born to play.
Yeah,
Jack Donaghy.
that's really what it is, Adam, I think, is that he's not Jack Donaghy in that role. He's just like a nice husband. So like that can't be Alec Baldwin.
I'd buy that.
Wrong typecast, right?
Whereas
So-
Michael Keaton was
Michael Keaton
dead
was
on.
perfect.
Yeah.
That turns out that's Michael Keaton. That's
Yeah, Michael Keaton's career should have just been that and Batman and then Birdman.
and then Birdman and
Yeah.
actually, well, I did like him in the Spider-Man movie. I thought he was
He was really good.
Oh yeah,
He's a
Vulture.
compelling villain.
Yeah, or as Vulture rather.
Yeah.
Yeah. he was
yeah,
good.
I liked him there. I was like, yeah, you're
You
like-
mean playing another flying animal?
Michael Keaton just has to play a crazy man.
Do you think
there.
he's like,
That's what it comes down to.
if I can't fly, like he's going to his manager, he's like, I don't want it if I don't have wings. Like it's out.
He's going to be the next Tinkerbell. Like this is all we could find for you, man.
Yeah.
Got wings. So,
I do look forward to him showing back up in another Marvel movie at some point.
Yeah, him being good a token villain, I like. Throw him on all over the place. I like him. He can because he's a good actor, so he can play the nuanced bad guy who you're like, well, yeah,
I mean,
you're not
the-
wrong here, buddy. But
I thought they did a fantastic job with him in Spider-Man. Like I had a lot of empathy for his character.
no,
right?
that's what
Like,
those are always the good. Those are the
that was-
great villains,
and that's,
right?
that's few and far between in Marvel movies, right? Like
yeah, the villain is always the weak part in Marvel movies.
Well, you have to make a choice, right? If you want the story to be about the villain, you have X amount of screen time, right? So you have to make the choice on where the depth goes. And if the depth goes to a whole bunch of character development for the hero, you run out of time to give the villain legitimate screen time, and you basically you have to there's an inverse proportion to a lot of these things, right?
I think you
yeah,
do a
but I
lot.
think you're wrong.
You can do a lot with a little.
Yeah, also building a compelling villain, I think, does more for the story than building more arc into the main character, the protagonist.
I'd rather see a villain movie.
Suicide Squad is all for you.
Not that one.
The new one looks like it might be actually good.
I haven't
Well,
even.
like
I
the
mean, did they
Suicide
fire
Squad-
everyone from the old one? Because
Yeah,
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
okay.
completely
It's a complete reboot.
like another Spider-Man movie.
well, I love when 2 years later they reboot the movie and they're like, "Oh, we fucked that up real bad." Like we're not even going to pretend like that was okay.
I think it's
Jared
called like
Leto Joker.
it's called like the Suicide Squad or something. It's,
I actually think Jared Leto's the only one who's coming back.
Oh, that's the worst news I've heard in a long time.
I mean, I didn't, Margot Robbie looks so much like it's hard for me to imagine what's her name without thinking Margot Robbie at this point. It'd be hard. I feel like she got that role because
Harley Quinn. Is she in the
yes,
news?
Harley Quinn. Like I feel like she would be an obvious typecast if they could get her back.
It was brave changing the Joker's origin story to him falling in a vat of Hot Topic.
Oh, but just to bring it back to the Vulture briefly, he like at the end of that film, he was in jail and like wasn't telling other villains that Peter Parker was Spider-Man. And that was kind of where they left his cliffhanger arc. So I was like, oh, I'm actually very excited to see him show up again someday. But didn't they out him in the end of the last movie? I don't even remember.
Out him in the end?
Yes.
Oh, Peter
Peter
Parker,
Parker.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Peter Parker. Yeah.
Wait, they did?
Yeah.
J.
Yeah.
Jameson got him.
Far From
Dude,
Home.
you didn't watch the teaser at the end of the movie, Jim?
No, I
Actually,
didn't.
Oh.
I haven't seen
not
Far
even
From Home.
That was not even, was it?
Yeah, it was. I think it was at the very end.
There's a post-credits scene.
Yeah,
You didn't see
um,
Far From Home?
I mean, if he's been
it wasn't
outed,
that good.
why? I guess so. The mask had technology, I guess, but like,
wasn't as
why wear
good
the
as the
mask
first one.
then? Like, if everyone knows who you are, the mask kind of feels like old habits. You know, like what is the point of the mask at that point?
I mean,
Wait, for Spider-Man?
yeah. So he can be Iron Man because Spider-Man is functionally Iron Man now.
I cannot stand that part.
Yeah.
Except
Like
for
so you're just better Iron Man because you're Iron Man with all the technology and superpowers.
Oh yeah, but you
Okay.
actually have superpowers because that
Which
was
we
like,
still haven't actually described in any way.
yeah. Oh, I heard the Sony one is going to get a new one next year too, which I
Yeah.
love. That's my favorite Spider-Man.
Yeah, the multiverse
Yeah.
is so good.
It is really really good.
Oh, the
The animated one.
Spider-Verse.
Yeah, Into the Spider-Verse.
Fuck yes.
Well, it did super well.
was
And
so
I guess it
good.
was a risk for Sony, because
Sure.
they historically make really really shitty
Yeah.
movies.
From the company that from the movie production company that brought you the Emoji Movie comes into the Spider-Verse, and you're like, yeah,
From
nope,
the company that brought you Fantastic Four.
yeah.
Which
Which goes to the
Venom.
whole like,
Yeah.
company and production houses. It can be, you know, largely considered irrelevant, right? If when evaluating in one of the individual movies, right? So
yeah, I think two of my three favorite Marvel movies are Spider-Man movies, like Homecoming and Into the Spider-Verse.
You didn't like
are
Thor
definitely
2?
my top three.
Ragnarok.
No, Thor 3 was great. That is
Yeah,
my number
dude.
one favorite.
Oh, that was Thor 3? I thought it was
Yeah.
Thor 2
No,
is
Thor 2,
Everybody
everybody
forgot.
forgot.
I thought
It was
that
like
the second
Hellboy
Thor.
too.
it was somehow worse than the first Thor movie.
Yeah, it was about dark elves that never show up again.
Yeah,
The waste of Christopher Eccleston.
Yeah,
yeah. They had a really good actor in it too. What do you
By the way,
know?
Margot Robbie, I don't know. She,
Yeah, Margot.
she is doing Harley Quinn again in the Suicide
that
Squad,
makes sense. I mean, she
even though it has nothing to do with the other movie, or does, or kind of does. I don't know. DC has never really kind of said how their multiverse is functioning.
they'll
Well,
tell you when they figure it out.
Movies just all like rhyme with each other or something. I don't know.
the thing is, they have a couple good movies, right? Like Wonder Woman was a good movie. I mean, it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
It was solidly in like the that Phase 1 Marvel quality.
Or like
Right.
the B tier Marvel movie, right?
I
Like
was worried you were going to say Aquaman.
No, Aquaman was not very good. I actually think that the Superman movie was better than Aquaman.
what? No, there's no way.
I haven't
I
seen
haven't.
Aquaman.
I didn't see the Aquaman, but it can't. There's
Just
no.
Man of Steel, you mean?
Yeah,
It's
actually,
definitely better than Aquaman.
I actually didn't mind Man of Steel.
I-
Everybody shits all over it, but I was like, you know what? I'm cool with like this is what a Superman fight would look like. He's going to destroy the whole fucking city.
Yeah, why do you
Like-
think Goku always said, "Let's go find this desert somewhere"? Because
Yeah.
Goku knew.
And it's
Ren
right
didn't
over.
know yet.
And also, I don't care that like he kills people. Like whatever, I don't give a shit. Like I don't need my superheroes pure.
So like the DC fan base, and I doubt very much that they make movies based off of the DC fan base because they're making movies to make money, and that fan base isn't so big that you can just rely on them. But they hated Wonder Woman.
I'm gonna go with misogyny.
Well,
I was going to say,
Were you
just
buzzing?
take away the first word.
What is misogyny?
I
But-
would. I would.
So there,
The DC
there's-
fan base is that's a.
the DC fan base hates because it's DC versus Marvel, right? So like, why
I
is
mean,
Marvel-
I wouldn't call Gamergate people the video game fan base. Just putting that
Well,
out there.
I didn't say game. I'm saying DC versus Marvel. Just that part. I'm not talking. I mean, I'm sure there's overlap with Gamergate, but I'm not. My whole point is like the DC fan base has always hated that Marvel has gotten, frankly, pretty darn good reviews in general, and they've blown it out in the box office. And DC's always like, but we're the edgy ones. We're the ones that get it, and they've hated. They have this like what will and won't make money, and they were against Wonder Woman for the reasons Will was talking about, but then also like when Batman v Superman came out, there's like conspiracy theories on how it was downplayed on critical sites that then like caused bad reviews to hit, which then caused bad like low turnout and bad critical reviews, and then apparently there's this like hidden Zack Snyder cut which actually makes it watchable that is out there that was held back. And if it would only get released, this is like the true perfect movie that's better than any Marvel movie or all of them combined or something like that.
I heard that the Zack Snyder cut was fucking terrible.
It's coming out on HBO Max.
Yeah,
Of
like I heard
Justice League,
it was like really bad. Yeah, of Justice League.
Unfortunately, nobody.
Oh,
has
Justice League. I'm
access
sorry,
to
not
HBO
not
Max,
Batman v
so-
Superman.
Wait, is HBO Max different than HBO?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Yeah, I have a subscription to
But I
one and not
think-
the other somehow.
I think HBO Max is all encompassing and has all the HBO content, but not the other way around.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, I don't think there is there isn't HBO. You can't just have an HBO streaming service. It's just HBO Max, which among other things has HBO.
So Megan bought the HBO subscription within Amazon Prime.
Yeah,
That's what I have.
where you can get it.
Oh.
It's a limited HBO. You don't get all of HBO.
So
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Similarly, you can get HBO Max through Hulu, but they make you just download the HBO Max.
No. So like a lot of
app.
sites basically
I-
pulled it out and they said you should subscribe to them and then cancel this or something like that because it's like the same price or nominally different, but one is strictly all of it. The other one isn't.
Yeah, that's super frustrating.
But you
Also-
can't watch it on anything. Oh, except they just got Amazon streaming devices, but like no Roku, no WebOS TVs, no PS5 app. Like they don't want you to watch HBO Max. They can't
Who
make
is
deals with it.
running this?
No comment on this section.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Does WB own HBO?
Yes.
The other we're brothers.
Oh, is that what it is?
Well, it's Warner Media and then AT&T, right? Going upstream from us, and then across the field is HBO.
That's cousins more.
Cousins.
Or maybe brothers, depending on where you want to draw the lines. But yeah.
I mean, AT&T Warner Media just had a big honking restructuring too, and we dropped like 10% or something. I don't
Well,
remember. How many
Tell somebody for your parent company that I would like to give them money, but I can't.
Again, specifically that HBO Max does not work on Roku was brought up and discussed.
Oh, I know. I mean, they're supposedly hashing out a deal. I'm sure they want that Roku audience.
Is Roku that big? I've never owned one.
Yeah, you know what? I actually just got one because I was looking for a streaming box that had everything I was looking for. It's all right. I mean, I got one like a year ago, but yeah, it's my first one. But I think it's the biggest streaming box company with Amazon as a close second.
It's everyone's parents' streaming device. That's what it is.
Yeah, Lena's parents have it.
Yeah.
Although my parents have a Chromecast, I think.
That's
I
pretty
had a
what I-
Chromecast.
That's what I
had-
actually use too. I don't.
I just use the apps of the TV now. Like
Yeah,
the
they do
smart
everything.
TVs are just so good.
I still have that TV I got at Black Friday.
No, you don't. That
You
I
H-
100% I do. And
You
then
should definitely buy. You should definitely buy
Brian,
the TV, Brian.
that
I
For
think
sure.
TV is so old.
it works fine. It's great. I love it. We love it.
Isn't that like a Hewlett Packard or something?
It's an HP TV.
I have no idea.
Well, yeah. Like I didn't even know they made TVs until
They,
you bought
they
the
did
thing.
1 year, and Brian bought it, and they're like, no one bought this thing except this one guy. We're gonna discontinue this. But like it was probably just rebranded something else. But yeah, that's impressive, Brian. Like I got a TV around then, and I tossed that thing like 5 years ago. I mean,
That thing's like 12 years old now.
yeah.
I mean, you definitely got your money out of it.
Oh, fuck yes.
Like you milked that purchase.
Yeah, Brian, I know like you like getting your money out of it. Does that feeling like actually increase over time? Like is every day do you get more
There's
good
no-
feeling? Because it's just like the value starts to rise, like your value is just rising. So every day you get to like kick it off like stock going up.
No, it's just like every now and then, Alina and I are like, should we get a new TV? And we're like, no. Like, yeah, okay.
TVs are so cheap now, and the quality improvement is pretty dramatic from that thing.
Meh.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would cost you like another $500.
I have never been successful in convincing Brian to buy anything new when he had a workable substitute. So that is
Nope.
not a hill I'm gonna ever die on with you, Brian.
Nope.
You can out practical the most practical people I know. So you definitely
I wouldn't go that far, but I'm certainly not gonna replace a functioning TV that is large and seems to work fine. And I've never looked at it and thought, man, the video quality is just so bad. I just feel like my experience is subpar.
Last year, I did exactly that.
Well, that's fine. Good for you.
was like-
I'm glad that you have expensive tastes.
It's like here's my 60-inch TV. I'm like,
Yes.
this viewing experience is subpar.
it you had that feeling in your brain's like, oh, that ticked. It ticked now, subpar. Where's
Yeah, I was
Amazon?
like, that's a little grainy. That's not right.
We can fix this.
Yeah.
I know how to fix this.
And then I gave my other TV away, so it's not like I threw it out.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, you should find somebody to give that thing to. The problem is that you're the bottom of the barrel. Like
Yeah, you're the person that would get it.
Yeah, people would be handing their shitty TVs down to you.
Oh yeah, like my neighbors, the QA people who live across from us, their TV is 100 times better than ours. So it's like whatever.
Yeah, so just hold out, and when they get a new one.
Yeah, is
you
that
can
really
take-
your plan, Brian? Are you just waiting for them to buy a new TV? I feel like that's actually the plan. Those things are
Will,
heavy.
if you want to send me your next old TV, let me know.
I love my TV, so I'm not the form factor of my TV is why I love it. So I don't think until I can get the same thing, I'm not gonna.
Well,
That's
he's got
because
nothing
of-
but time. If it's 7 years from now,
It's true.
he'll be there. Vicalina, I think.
Adam just got a new TV. What happened to your old TV, Adam? Send it to Brian.
I'm probably actually setting it up in the back room. It's still a good TV, but I don't know. I wanted
Sorry, Brian.
We didn't
Sorry,
mean to get your
Brian.
hopes up.
Sorry to get your hopes up.
How is the new TV, Adam? How's your OLED experience?
It's all right. My HDRs are higher now. I needed a higher dynamic range.
You needed highest dynamic range.
Yeah. No, I'm enjoying it thus far. Actually, I feel like since I got it, I've been doing everything but watching a lot of TV. So I'm just sit down and enjoy it a little bit more soon, I'm sure. Yeah.
All right, so let's go into suggestions. I'll start off. If you don't have one, you don't need to have one. But anything you see, watched, anything recently you want to call out. I'll start off. I saw a movie on Hulu. It's a horror thriller movie called Run. If you like that kind of genre, but the premise is that no, Brian, Adam, do you like thrillers?
Not
Jeez.
generally. I'm with Brian on this
All
one.
right. Well, I guess this is for none of you. So
I
it's
like
like
Cabin in the Woods. I like meta horror.
no, this isn't meta horror. It's not gory. It's like yeah, it's a girl is with her mom. She's got a lot of a baby. She like tons of complications, right? Wheelchair, asthma, throws up every morning, right? and but her mom's like, like the parent has been there every step of the way, super, super, super close. She's been homeschooled because she couldn't go to school, and now she's applying to college. And the movie starts off with, she's happy, she's doing homework, she's doing all this kind of stuff. But she applied to college, and you start to get the feeling that something's off because like no colleges are getting back to her with acceptance letters. And that's kind of where it goes from. And that's where it goes from there.
That's definitely the plot. The mother has kept her sick her entire life, so she was dependent on her.
So that's the movie.
I was thinking too.
Solved movie.
It's got like a Misery kind of feel, Only Misery gets pretty graphic at points. This isn't gonna like that. But anyways, it was a good movie.
She doesn't hobble.
There's no hobbling. Well, she starts off hobbled, so mission accomplished. Anyways, so that's my movie. I liked it. You guys don't like that kind of genre, but if you did, I thought it was pretty well done. I thought the acting was really good. I thought that like it was an enjoyable movie. It kept you going. Like had good pacing. It was just a good movie. It was on Hulu. All right. Anyone else want to jump in with something?
There is a pretty compelling YouTube video that I saw the other day about what's the point of R-rated superheroes, because that's like the trend of superhero movies now, and does like a 40-minute deep dive on like, is this a good thing, or like why. It's on Patrick H. Willems' YouTube channel, and I think it's pretty compelling.
Send it to the podcast link.
I actually don't have anything good.
Like, does it have a survivability, or is it a good thing? Like, are you saying like is it a thing that can keep going as like a character that can continue to develop, or is it just not a good thing in general? Is that like, which question is it answering, or is it answering both?
Well, it's answering like, why did they develop, right? And is it a good thing that they did develop?
Okay.
And the trend, like, is it going to ruin superhero movies? Yeah. Okay. So like, it very clearly takes a side on it, and like points out that there are some really good ones. Like Logan was really good.
I have not seen Logan yet.
You haven't seen Logan?
Yeah, I need to.
I mean,
but Logan was really good because it wasn't a superhero movie, really. Like, that's not what the story was about.
Yeah, I wouldn't, and it's not it's not a bad guy superhero movie either. I feel like that's not really. I feel like they're talking about like The Boys or Bloodborne or something, like one of those.
So The Boys actually is pretty effective, right? Like The Boys is good because it's like this, they're not good people, right? It is like this very clear, superheroes can be completely evil, right?
I thought it was gonna be bad because Homelander can literally just kill everyone if you wanted to. Like, where do you go with this? It becomes the Homelander. Have you guys seen The Boys? Have you? You have.
I didn't like season 2.
Yeah, it was season 2 was
season 1 was really good though.
Season 2 was too obvious. But I don't know where they go. I feel like I don't know what you do with the show at this point. It seems like a very short-term concept.
Yeah. That's why season 2 was bad.
Yes.
That story was over for me.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I just looked at the Slack channel again. And that fucking wagon.
Yeah.
That's sketchy as shit.
Do you think it's got the Biden votes?
Dude, that is a tiny little case. Why wouldn't you just carry that thing around?
Dude, that definitely has. That's the winning election bids right there, Will. That's where they are.
Yeah. Like, why do you need a wagon? Like, who has a wagon for their Pelican case?
Oh, they have Miracle Man on it. The R-rated movie. The image on the far left is Miracle Man.
Okay, yeah. Yes, they talk about that comic.
I'm sure. I've actually read it. The art is terrible.
Yeah. But it was in the 80s, right?
It was stylistic. It was a choice. It was bad because it was bad.
like using old school, old timey like video cameras to show things, and you're like, why did we do that?
Well, I think the Miracle Man was an old comic, right?
Yeah, it was It was Shazam.
Yeah.
Or Captain Marvel, whichever one you want to call it. It was an import knockoff of it that then had its own life, and then was it Morris brought it back to life and did the like modern deconstruction thing.
Yeah, but yeah, if you have 40 minutes to spare and you're into like literary analysis or film analysis, this is pretty good.
Yeah, I'll definitely watch it.
I'll just broadly recommend Caspian Report more.
What do you got, Adam?
Apparently, I don't have a way to unmute my mic. Is what I've got. I don't know. I don't know. But I don't know if I can strongly recommend this for everyone. But I actually just rolled credits on Bug Snacks before before the podcast, and
On what? Get the proper noun again.
Bug Snacks. It is a downloadable game from. I'm not going to get the developer's name right, so I'd rather not say it. Young Horses, I believe. The people that made Octodad, and it is weird as hell. It is.
Yeah.
I mean, as expected, but like it's strangely dark. One of the most bizarre endings to a game I've encountered in some time. It was a trip. It was a trip. I don't know. I'm still not sure exactly what I think of it. It's pretty straightforward, but I don't know. I was in it for a short journey, just to see where the hell it was gonna go.
I played through some of it yesterday.
Yeah, you were not digging it, right?
Well, so I didn't know anything about it, right? And I was very confused as to what it was.
As you should be.
Yeah, and so I was like, I don't know if this feels like Pokemon, but like weird Pokemon with.
Is it weird Pokemon?
Like,
Kind of?
yeah, like
Yeah.
how do you make Pokemon weirder? It's like, oh, you eat the Pokemon and then you turn parts of your body into the Pokemon.
Yep.
So you can like have a Bulbasaur where a Bulbasaur would go.
Except it's recognizable food products.
Yeah.
So like my mayor had a hot dog nose and bun. It's listen.
It's very weird.
It's very weird. But like at the same
Love it.
time, it's strangely dark and gets progressively darker as it goes on. It's I don't know. Like I said, not for everyone. I enjoyed it. I can say that much.
Yeah, in the vein of video games, because I guess Hollow Knight is like I now have on PS5 because it came with it or something. Anybody who hasn't played that game should play that game because it's amazing.
Do I need a PS5 to do it?
No, you can play it on PC.
Oh, nice.
But on a lot of things.
Yeah, you can play it on basically anything. I think it's available for Switch too. Yeah, it is. That game is a masterpiece. If you're into like the Metroidvania type of a game, so like Symphony of the Night type of,
Sure,
like that'll definitely like scratch that itch, and it's beautiful, and it has like a really great world. Yeah, and it's that game is a masterpiece, and everybody should play it.
I agree with most of that, except I found the map a little bit too large and difficult to navigate. And at a certain point, I grew frustrated and gave up. And then then it was a lost cause. I needed to start over. So I might do that eventually. It's one of those games where it's purposely difficult to navigate to some extent. But it threw me for a loop, and I bounced off. So I will probably give it a shot again.
That is the problem with Metroidvanias, is that if you put it down for more than like a week, you're like, wait, what the fuck was I doing? I don't remember where anything is. I'm not playing this game anymore.
that's fair.
That's what I did with Bloodborne. Not Bloodborne. Blood, whatever. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do, but I can't. Man, is there anything more generic than throwing blood into a video game?
Yeah. Blood Spike, Blood Sword.
Blood Rain.
Bloodborne's actually really good.
Bloodborne
Blood
is a
Bowl?
Dark
play.
Souls game.
Yeah,
I've never played the Dark Souls games, but I hear they're incredible.
If you're into that type of game, then yes, they're good.
They look
But
and
it's
sound
the
neat.
type.
The hit detection looks awful.
Bloodstained.
Actually, hit detection is awesome, but animation priority is the thing that a lot of people have a problem with.
Yeah, it's like I've watched the gameplay and I'm like, I have no, like, that was a hit. What? But there's a big wing and it does the. Yeah, I don't know.
I played through a bunch of Dark Souls, and I never beat it. I got through quite a bit of it, but it just felt like homework.
That's fair. I mean,
Yeah, you know,
I'm gonna throw myself at this thing 400 times until I like master its pattern, and then I can beat it every time.
I found Monster Hunter to be a slightly more enjoyable version of this game, personally.
That's free on PS5 too.
Is it? Oh, I
Yeah,
didn't
Monster
realize
Hunter
that was
World.
part of the. Yeah, that was a good one. That was a good monster. I was into Monster Hunters before that, but that's a good one. It's just a boss rush game. It's fun. I don't know. I like that stuff.
Jim, what games have you been playing?
Or movies or YouTube, whatever.
Well, you gave this movie.
yeah, I mean, I gave the movie. I troll around YouTube and find myself into weird pockets randomly because I let autoplay go, and then like 3 hours later, I'll hear them saying something interesting. I'm like, oh, what's this? And I'll just be somewhere I just never could have imagined. So I know a surprising amount about the YouTube drama community, which is funny. But it's I don't know. I can't give anything. There's been some like YouTube, like edgy political YouTube people. There's been some interesting stuff there. I don't know. There's nothing there important. I can't say anything to it. I got nothing. I got nothing.
YouTube definitely thinks that I own a lathe and I make like wooden bowls.
Oh,
Dude.
because of the.
It like thinks that I am the handiest person in the world. Like,
Wood
hey,
turning videos are
Yeah.
one of the best things to watch ever.
actually, so the restoration videos are like my favorite thing in the world. Where they get like some old antique like little trinket thing, and then it's just like a 30-minute video with no dialogue of just this guy like restoring it into perfect condition. And there's like that and shoe restoration.
I was
for
gonna say,
whatever
people
reason.
making knives.
No, because people making knives got ruined for me by so I did go down to like a blacksmithing like a hole with this guy Alex Steele or something like that. But
That's definitely a porn star.
yeah,
That is
Probably.
not his real name.
I think it is. It might be a porn star too.
Fact
Yeah,
checking.
Alex Steele blacksmith.
Jesus. What are his parents like psychic?
Steele spelled differently.
Oh, okay.
But no, have you guys seen Forged in Fire?
Oh, what's the line? Like this
Like-
blade will cut or kill. Or something like
yeah.
that.
It's so that show is so fucking bad. That show is so bad that like I still wanted to see what they made, but I didn't want to listen to anybody talk. So like I just fast forwarded through 90% of every episode. I'm like, what did this guy make? Like that's all I care about. Like as soon as somebody started talking, I'm like, nope, fast forward. Like I don't want to hear anybody talk on that show. It's terrible.
I'll watch a motherfucker turn acrylic and wood all day, every day. Let me tell you, I don't know why. Like Facebook feeds me those videos. They serve them to me one after another because they know. Like the autoplay videos.
I got to keep you here.
I'll
Yeah.
scroll and I'll stop on that 100% of the time, and they know it. It's just shavings of acrylic flying at dudes, and I don't know.
I will never not watch that.
It's true. And they
It's
know it.
like I absolutely am sure that I am going to spend so much money on a lathe one day and then do nothing with it. Like YouTube told me I wanted this. I trusted YouTube.
It's enough videos. It happens.
You're the chosen one.
I'm gonna link one sec. but I'll
So-
put it in the podcast.
There's two solid people. One is kind of like lower level, like it's like basic history, but it's in a very consumable, entertaining way from a guy called Step Back History. He does compelling videos. There's a bunch of like response to the right, but there's also general history videos, and he's generally an entertaining person that we hear talk about history of lots of different things. But he's like just compelling, entertaining slash, like a history teacher in high school. And the other person I think we've talked about is Folding Ideas. Have you guys heard of Folding Ideas?
Yeah, that guy's fucking obnoxious.
I like him.
He just seems so pretentious.
Well, he's got that like, yeah,
Be a good company.
yeah. He has that. He has that air, like you. Yeah, I mean, I can see that.
I agree with you, but you're why people hate liberals.
I mean, all his stuff that I've seen, he mostly goes out. He does like video.
No, he does
video.
a lot of like social commentary.
All right, maybe I've caught mostly the video stuff because he does he talks about a lot of interesting video techniques and ideas that I like a lot.
Yeah, that's where I think you got to start, right? Like the first video I saw of his was like the editing for like Suicide Squad. Like,
Yeah,
why is
yeah,
that
that's a really
movie
good
such
one.
Disaster.
Yeah.
But yeah, like he does a lot of social commentary as well.
All right, that's fair. That type of technique applied in a political, yeah, I can see that. All right, well, those are the two that I've caught recently I liked, or that I've caught like a string of, or YouTube thought I'd want to watch it a lot recently. Okay. Well, I guess we're good. Any last words or anything from anyone before we go? We're good. Okay. Well, this has been fun. Thanks for joining, guys. We'll do it again. Maybe next week. We'll see. I'll talk to you guys later.
Later.
Take it easy.
Bye, guys.